It's sneaking up on election time again. Back 8 years ago, before the election, the contest between President Bush and Al Gore, I wrote a poem expressing some thoughts I had at that time. Back in the time zone, 8, 10, 11 years ago, we had a relative living in Texas, and I was down there in Texas, my wife and I, visiting at the time that Governor Bush saw to it that he didn't show any leniency to a woman. That yes, she was a murderer, but she'd been on death row, I think they said maybe 17 years, found God and had been a positive influence in the prison, living a good life as a human being for several years. Certainly the kind of a situation that many of us that, like me, that don't think girls should be in combat. I don't really like the idea of executing a woman. Unless, the crime is heinous and there's no repentance. So I kind of knew that George Bush was planning to be the next president of the United States, or giving it a good shot, when he pandered to the right-wing radicals that are all for the death penalty, and I'm basically for the death penalty in many cases. I also was unaware, just too green to even have any idea, that Bush already was lining up the big money and the big leadership across the nation, so that he almost assured his nomination as the Republican choice for presidential election early on. Very shrewd. The man was smart. He had some smart advisors. It's also true that when you appoint a person to look for the vice presidential candidate, it's a sophisticated way of saying, you're not the person, but we respect you and we want you to help the cause by helping find the right person to run for vice president. And when Cheney came back with the, hey, I'm the one, it wasn't just Cheney, I'm sure. The real right wing of, the right wing nuts, the war nuts, pushed that. Cheney might not even been the one that triggered it. But anyway, we got that combination. And if we'd known that Cheney and Bush were believers in preemptive war, would the American people have elected him as president and Cheney as vice president? I don't think so. But that's neither here nor there, and I didn't know all that at that time. This is the poem that I wrote. Presidential choices. I'm not really a poet, but I work at it a little bit from time to time. Is it Georgie boy, or will Al win it all? The prize is not a toy. Our country should stand tall. They contrast as a pair. One is too glib and smart, one half smart to be fair. Both possess a big heart, but one is for the rich, the other for the poor. But there is a weird hitch. Who owes the fat cats more? One is so slick, locked up the big money boys, did it early and quick, pandered to the right-wing noise. One, soiled by Clinton's sin, though it wasn't any fault of his own, doesn't seek Clinton's men, wants to set his own tone. Can either one win big? It is really hard to tell. Many don't give a fig. Losing side will sure yell. And they did. And probably with good cause. But if that election was stolen, it certainly wasn't the first one that was ever stolen. That's for sure. We've got an election coming up. If McCain should be the choice by the Republicans, I'd have a hard choice to make. At another time I'll tell how I got to be what I call a registered Agnew Nixon Democrat. But McCain's an honest man. I have no doubt that though I don't agree with him about the Iraq War, although I know he's regarded as a maverick, I believe that's an honest man who makes decisions based on what he thinks is right and what he thinks is good for the country, not on what's it going to do for my heritage, the view of me in history. What a man.